by your side. Okay. Now, the biggest mistake I see with people doing this exercise is that they don't push through their heels, so they'll end up pushing through their toes, okay, which will bias the quad. So if people are weak in their glutes, they'll do anything they can to sort of recruit and to actually make this movement happen. So you don't have to lift your toes up, but what I want you to do, you can start with lifting your toes up, but what I really want you to focus on is pushing through your heels, okay, and that will get more action through the posterior mid chain. Now, what Lizzie's going to do is she's going to squeeze her glutes, she's going to lift her hips off the ground, peel her back off, and she's going to hold there. She's going to hold 3, 2, 1, and slowly lower, okay? Now, you'll often get clients that do this and they'll get cramp and tightening in their hamstrings. Now, the hamstrings will be working, but because we're trying to get the glutes to work, the hamstrings cramp or they tighten up, it's often a sign that the glutes are actually weak and they're not doing as much work as they could be. It's also sometimes difficult with an anterior pelvic tilt because you'll get people with tight hip flexors through the front, which means it almost prevents them getting into hip extension, like we saw with you. Okay, so you would sometimes couple this with, say, a hip flexor, just a static hip flexor stretch, and then couple that with this. So you're actually trying to almost switch the hip flexor off completely, and that allows you to get into a more hip extension, which should be able to squeeze sort of more activation with the glute. So an easy way to progress this, because if Lizzie shows us a couple of these, up through the heel, good, and down, and a couple, and down. If we want a bit of overflow and a bit more activation, you can put the ball in there and squeeze and lift up and down. So she's breezing this, okay? So the way you can progress it, if you want to do it with one leg, you can grab one knee, pull it in with both hands, good. Push through the heel and you bridge up just with one glute. And she makes that look really easy, but that's a lot tougher. Okay, and down, and again, up, 3, 2, 1, and down. Now if you wanted to bring in a bit more core work, there's an easy way to bring in some anti-rotational stuff. So if you're looking at sort of activating more multifidus and some spinal stabilizers, the best way of doing this is if you bridge up 2 feet, you imagine that you're not going to let my arm move and you're just going to straighten one leg without rotating and down. Now the challenge with this is again not to twist side to side, to straighten. So what will happen a lot of times, swap again, is that the hips will just drop like that, okay? Yeah. So your job when you're doing this is to make sure that the hips stay level and you're actually preventing that rotation. Again, all those spinal stabilizers through here, all those anti-rotation muscles, they're working quite hard there, okay? And if you wanted to do that at home, you could stick a ball in and you'd have to keep the ball there, okay? Which is a bit different, but it gives you some feedback in terms of the fact that you're not massively lifting one leg up, okay?